The troubling persistence of beauty. The art explorer visits Brian Maguire's latest exhibition. War changes his address. The Aleppo paintings. Beauty triumphs over the suffering inherent in life. A disturbing feature of the work in this exhibition is its undeniable beauty. We might visit this exhibition because of its headline title and its promise to inform or deepen understanding. We might even come as a declaration of solidarity. Whatever our reasons, it's unlikely we will come in search of beauty. Yet beauty is here nonetheless, waiting. When confronted with suffering on such a massive scale, any talk of beauty sounds inappropriate and unseemly. Yet, as the Irish poet John O'Donoghue reminds us, in the bleakest times especially, we can still discover and awaken beauty. These are precisely the times we need it most. It is often the whispers and glimpses of beauty that enable people to endure on desperate frontiers. We may of course choose to ignore beauty in this guise, but for the artist, the potential for beauty is ever present. It is left to the artist to point this out, even when it means directing our attention to the very centre of a wound. Be prepared. Real beauty can disturb. I made my way to the council offices with an argument already brewing in my head. I felt ambivalent about an art exhibition portraying the casualties of war. I was expecting to see, in addition to bombed out buildings, portraits created by Brian Maguire when he was in the refugee camp, as seen in a recent TV documentary. I wasn't sure how I would respond to this. As you enter the council offices, you first pass through a set of glass doors. You are then funneled along a sleek grey wall before being spilled out into a large public hall space where the exhibition is located. Hanging on this grey wall is the first of 6 large paintings that make up this exhibition. It measures approximately 4 metres long by 3 metres high. Being confronted by it here before you reach the hall, it takes you by surprise. It's a big painting, and it looms out from the wall, confronting you like a bouncer, in your face, all angles and brutality. The image, which is barely contained within the frame, is of a colossal 4-storey building, standing precarious but defiant. The structure is wrenched, twisted and torn, but not yet a ruin. It is draped in cascading slabs of grey-white concrete and lingering metal infrastructure. This edifice stands on cement pillars, each framed by gaping dark caverns of ground space. The effect is of a highly tactile, 3-dimensional sculpture with massive presence. It is a high-impact image, both in its composition and in what it depicts. The large scale commands your attention. Riveted under this gaping attack, your eyes are compelled to scan and take it all in, before slowly lingering to explore details and caress the entire canvas. This work is the product of a refined aesthetic developed over many years of art practice, so the wandering eyes are not disappointed. The painting is an orchestration of washes, grey bluish cream, punctured with dark rectangular shapes, smears and dribbles echoing fracture, disarray and rubble. High up, the ripped silhouette pushes the hulk forward, away from the sky and out of the picture. It towers above the viewer like some fatally wounded giant. The whole structure appears to be kept aloft by emptiness itself, some tangible internal vacuum that holds it all in place. Perhaps the echo of all those ear-bleeding explosions. The giant stands shell-shocked on its pillars, old before its time, awaiting permission to exhale and collapse. At this point, I'm totally engrossed. My eyes are greedily crawling all over the surface of rubble and dry fractured forms, and into dark shadow holes. A rescue worker searching for signs of life. And I find them in the deft and earnest markings, evidence of the artist's movements as he conducts his own creative search. So together we crawl into deep beauty. But now I sense within myself a growing unease. The exhibition title had bombarded me with one reality, screaming it aloud, while the artist's mastery now has me drooling over colours and forms. It's that seductive painterly aesthetic referred to in the gallery blurb. Taking war and its victims as a subject for art is always controversial. I had been pleasantly surprised and excited by the painting's vigorous grand scale, but now I feel uncomfortable at uncovering beauty in the remnants of others' suffering, even if it is symbolically depicted. Brian Maguire has been working with individuals and communities on the margins of society for nearly 40 years. We can be sure that these ethical questions are not new to him. Also, this is not an artist to shy away from graphic depictions of violence. One commentator, referring to a painting Maguire made of a piled mound of mutilated bodies, described it as graphic, one large wound upon the canvas body. Here the artist has chosen not to represent the victims directly, but instead through the evident destruction of their homes. Arguably, this absence of both the living and the dead makes the images all the more poignant. At first, I thought these semi-abstracted forms and the total absence of people, the portraits were not in fact included, that this was an unacceptable separation of form from real content. That is the human suffering implied in the title. So paradoxically, on the one hand, I had been suspicious of making victims the subject of creative activity. Now here I was suspicious of their absence. I felt unsure of my footing among this rubble. So to understand better the truth of this artist's experience and his responses to the horror he encountered, we must return now to his art. I turned the corner and we are in the council's main entrance hall, a large cavernous space where 6 more paintings hang, all depicting bombed out, crumbling buildings. After the intensity of the earlier painting, I now move cautiously, thinking this could take a while. And it does, relatively speaking, that is, when you consider that your average gallery visitor pauses only seconds at each exhibit. An hour and a half later and I'm still wandering among the paintings, a child playing among the rubble. This hall is like a great central square, where all the blitzed streets converge. There is a respectful stillness here, even with all the administrative shuffle of council business. Passers-by duck or speed up apologetically not to obscure my view. I find myself wondering how the staff are affected by their daily witnessing of such devastation. One painting depicts a long line of apartment blocks, gutted and teetering on a great height. Another, a dark alley through overhanging wreckage. The largest, facing up from the far end of the hall, is a wide streetscape. Its road has been pounded to resemble a rough sea, and its receding perspective is of endless destruction. Even from a distance, the image is loud and clear. There is a kind of narrative in the arrangement of the work, a curated order, perspectives and themes explored, different approaches taken. Just one painting, with the title Apartments, makes direct reference to its former inhabitants. The front of this building has been ripped off, like a plaster from a wound, exposing the bright colours of strewn domestic paraphernalia. Curiously, this painting seems at odds with the rest, perhaps a little too self-conscious. A step back towards that photographic illustration and that reality to which we all must inevitably return. Only one painting shows a human figure, just a passerby, more a photographic smear. The two largest are probably the most impressive, their scale adding impact, helping to mimic the real thing. I finally left the hall, still a little uneasy about finding beauty in the remnants of destruction and suffering. But I suspect the artist will be sympathetic to my dilemma. Over the years, Maguire has tried different ways of looking into the wound directly, and obliquely in this case. We can only presume that this current body of work and the engagement that gave rise to it is for this artist his best possible response. The gallery blurb gives us a clue as to his approach on this occasion. Quote, he works slowly, using photographic sources, searching for that point where illustration ceases and art begins. Unquote. It is only by opening oneself to the aesthetic and emotive quality of these paintings that we can appreciate in some part the journey this artist is taking us on. A sensitive and complex creative exploration, not only of the subject matter, but equally of ourselves as observers, trying to imagine the unimaginable. A journey that is both disturbing and inspiring, one that takes time and attention if we are to pass from one to the other. What we do then with this experience is up to us.